Welcome back to Watching Business Morning right here on Channels Television. Time for commodities now to find out what's going on there. Joining us is Fumi Adipowale, Senior Analyst with Financial Derivatives Company. Hi, Fumi. Good morning.
Good morning, Hini.
Yes, I like to build on the issue around the appropriation bill, a worrying factor popped up on in our first conversation this morning. The issue, we just had Mr. Brent. So, the oil prices and issues around it. So, the benchmark now about $77, and now in reality the price is about 78. And it doesn't look like, I know some people have said we'll hit $100, but I don't know, that might be far-fetched for now. What risks does this portend to us as a country when our benchmark is, really slim, closely related to the real price?
Yeah, thank you. So what we're saying is that the price of Brent has declined to about $78 per barrel, from an average of $82 per barrel in November, and that is bringing prices close to the 2024 oil price benchmark of $77 per barrel, and that's really disturbing at this time, because ideally the benchmark target should be at least 10 to 20% far away from what the current price is. So the current price is now falling to what we are projecting for 2024 budget is a concern. What that means is that the chances of Nigeria being able to fund its budget will be slim. So currently we already have a budget deficit of 9.18 trillion because of the increase in oil price and because of the increase in revenue. So if oil price moves close to the budget benchmark or even falls further, it means that Nigeria will be faced with more financial burden, and we have to either resort to borrowing from the domestic market or to visit our international creditors. And what that means is that we'll be at the mercy of our creditors. So it's really a challenge at this point in time. Beyond the fact that oil prices are falling, we've also seen that Nigeria's current 2024 production quota, which is about 1.5 million barrels per day, is a little bit far from the benchmark of 1.78 million barrels per day. Even with that gap, Nigeria will lose about 21 million naira on a daily basis, which is equivalent to about 6 billion naira on an annual basis. So that's already a challenge. Now adding the fact that oil prices are also likely to fall means that Nigeria will be faced with more financial burden, and that is not too fine to fund the 2024 budget.
Yeah, so that might actually mean, you said we're already borrowing. We've seen the president present some proposals to the lawmakers. That means we might have to borrow even more. And if we're using about more than 98% of our revenue to service the debt, not to pay off the debt, to service the debt, then that means that we might be borrowing to service the debt.
Exactly. So currently, about 98% of revenue is being used to service the debts, not even for the principal payments. What that means is that the federal government will have little revenue to fund its capital projects, which is expected to build the productive capacity of the country. So it's a major challenge. It means that Nigerians will continue to feel the pressure, because what we are doing is we are spending more on recurrent expenditure, and which is short term. What we really need to focus more on is capital expenditure, which has the capacity to boost growth in the long term. So if we're not having that enough financial buffers to be able to channel resources to capital projects, then it's like we are eating our future today, and that is a big challenge, not just for the present generation, even for generations to come. So I think we have to look into that and see how. So the fact that we have to borrow more is a challenge, but we have to look for a way to. So borrowing is actually not the challenge. It is the productive use of funds that is critical. So if we are getting more and we are being able to productively utilize the fund, it's possible we'll be able to get more revenue, which will be able to clear our debt and even have more to fund capital projects, which is positive for growth in the medium to long term.
Yeah, I guess we can't give up hope. The budget or the appropriation bill has not been assented to yet, so I guess changes can still be made, and we do hope that conversations like this and the town hall meeting that was held yesterday can actually be captured and made as adjustment to the budget.
Exactly. So I think before the budget will be assented to, these issues will be considered, and it's possible that the budget assumptions will actually be revised. But notwithstanding, it is important that we actually look inwards to generate more revenue, which is actually critical. Relying on borrowed funds, even if it's not really a challenge, if it's productively used, it's important that we also look inwards to see how we can boost revenue without necessarily having to rely on borrowed funds. So I believe that budget assumptions might actually be reviewed before the budget is being assented to.
All right, just briefly now for me, FDC sees a month-on-month decline on inflation. Why? To 20.23. Nigerians will be skeptical about this.
Yes, so I would like to start with the fact that inflation is expected to increase. So what do we mean by inflation? Inflation is the persistent increase in the price, in the general price of commodities. So an increase in inflation means that prices will keep increasing. But the good news is that the rate at which headline inflation is expected to increase is slowing. We are projecting 27.5% at FDC, and that is just a marginal increase of 0.17% from what inflation was in October. That's 27.33. So that's the fact that inflation is slowing, and month on month is also projected to decline to 1.54%, which when annualized is about 20.23%, is an indicator that inflation could begin to decline as early as Q1 2024, and that is good news for an average Nigerian. But I would like to emphasize that the fact that we are saying inflation will decline doesn't mean that prices will fall. The price of some commodities might fall, while some will keep increasing. But on average, we expect that inflation will increase at a slower pace and is likely to decline in 2024, which is good news for consumers, for investors. For investors, decline in inflation means that the real return on your investment is going to increase, and that could incentivize both domestic and international investors. Currently, we've seen that the yield on T-bill rate has increased to about 15% on the average. So that is going to, in a way, incentivize investment. And when that happens, we are going to see when there is increased savings because of higher interest rates, and we are seeing also that investment is increasing. That it's possible that the naira liquidity mop up as a result of this higher liquidity will also reduce the naira that is available to purchase the forex, meaning that the forex will also likely appreciate in the medium term.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, for me, an average Nigerian will be happy when prices start reducing and not when the rate of increase is reducing. Well, thank you so much, Fumi Adeboale, Senior Analyst with Financial Derivatives Company.
Thank you.